Hi, hello there. How many of you out there care for the environment? Show of hands. Great. That means you actually care of, sustaining and helping the future generations. I know for myself, I'm about to have a kid soon, and I would really like for the earth to be around, or at least the environment to not be as detrimental to my child when they're born. Some of the things that come to mind, such as recycling your compost, even your vehicle, right? What I want to talk today is exactly that: hybrid vehicles. Now, Japan has actually been trying to push this more to the western side. They've actually been using hybrid cars since 1997, believe it or not. One of the great many things about hybrid vehicles is that they have 90% less pollutants than gasoline vehicles. And on top of that, if you wanted to go out and buy one today, there actually is a lot of incentives for most hybrid vehicles in many states. Not to mention the warranties behind them. You get 8 years, 100,000 miles, or in some states that abide to the California state emissions, which is 10 years and 150,000 miles. Another thing that's really nice about electric vehicles is the depreciation. I know many people that go out and they buy a new vehicle and they hate the fact that by the time they drive off the lot, their car's already depreciated almost $10,000. Well, for electric vehicles, there's little to no depreciation. In fact, most of the time you buy a vehicle, a lot of the parts within the vehicle itself are recyclable. And one of the many uh, fa- biggest pieces of that is the battery. The battery is the main electric drive of the vehicle. One of the things that I want to talk about is the actual motor generator. It's the it's just a fancy word for saying electric drive on the car, and it's essentially what gives it that oomph or the initial propulsion once you start driving. Of course, a hybrid vehicle cannot sustain a much faster speed at higher speeds, but it is sustainable and longer, and then you are in fact going to see a higher miles per gallon once you drive. Now, a lot of people think that the maintenance is much higher on a hybrid vehicle when in fact it's actually equivalent. It's actually very similar to a regular gas vehicle as well. And one of the things that comes to mind with a hybrid is that they confuse it with electric vehicles. Now, an electric vehicle is mainly a bigger battery. It's able to sustain an electric charge for much longer than a hybrid vehicle. And of course, the hybrid vehicle uses the combustion engine as well as the electric technology. Another feature of electric is the start stop technology. What this does is it stops the engine when you're at a traffic light. It actually helps reduce the emissions that are given off that normal vehicles do whenever they're at stoplights. Your car will actually stop instead of continuing to run. Another feature is the regenerative braking system. Now, unlike most vehicles, whenever you're driving, what happens whenever you are coming to a complete stop? Well, all that's happening is you push on the brake, and then your brake pads will actually heat up to stop you because of the friction. While in a hybrid vehicle, that technology is actually being reused to recharge the battery for, whenever you need to drive a little bit further. Um, Another main factor is the electric drive. Now, this works well if the battery capacity is large enough to sustain for most hybrids, but they can only go for a handful of miles, handful of speeds before the internal combustion is needed. So that's why there is, in fact, that hybrid that you hear about. Another factor in that is the aerodynamics of the car, the weight of the car. This all plays into how long you can actually go without having to start using the internal combustion. Now, it's really, really nice to see that um, plug-in hybrids nowadays. Now, the only real big difference with these, for an example, the Chevrolet Volt. Now, the only thing that changes with this vehicle is it's got a bigger battery, and in such, the bigger battery then allows for a much longer sustainable drive compared to the normal hybrids. Now, there's not really much difference as far as when it comes to once you are done with the vehicle, you're ready to uh, drive it off the cliff, as most people would say. But a lot of people think that it actually costs more to, you know, dispose of that vehicle. And in fact, the battery itself, even though it's the biggest chunk of the vehicle, for hybrids at least, they're actually recyclable. And a lot of people actually don't know this. They think that it's just going to go sit in a landfill and take up space much like your regular garbage would, but in fact, it doesn't. Now, in conclusion today, one of the many things about hybrids is the environment. There's a lot of low emissions. There's great incentives, government incentives, for getting those, such as 5,000 tax rebate, which a lot of people don't know as well. And then, of course, the different technologies that are used to help with hybrid vehicles, the motor generator, the electric drive, the start-stop technology, and of course the electric drive. I appreciate everyone giving me the opportunity to discuss this today, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.